Whew, a lot of really big stuff, especially emotionally and like story-wise. Hey everyone, welcome back. I owe you the third part of Lorna Shore's Pain Remains trilogy, and I'm here for it. Today we're wrapping up this really fun triptych of Lorna Shore's essentially short films. First two parts really beautiful, and I'm really excited to get into the third one. I posted the full thing already a couple weeks ago on my Patreon. So if you want to watch everything in one go, you can do so over there. If you haven't seen the first two parts yet, you can do so there, or you can find them on my channel as two separate videos. Either way, I'm going to get into the third part of the Pain Remains trilogy called In a Sea of Fire. Let's do it. Wow, that was so big. So what a beautiful opening, like very symphonic and like very heavy, stunning opening in terms of the music, right? And then also we're back with the same dude, and thankfully he's not dead too. So he wakes up and, finds himself there, goes home and wraps his arms with bandages. I hope it's enough. But it's a really, really beautiful opening. And still cutting back and forth to, the happy days and now at the funeral, and now also, as the final part of this story, him, I guess, having to learn to live with this loss. And then we transition into the body of the music, if you will. And it's such a shock musically, like sonically, this difference between the opening and the body of the music itself, that it's really fitting that they come out with all these flames and like the heavy, like bright whites and yellows and reds and oranges. And I love that they even thought of this progression in this setting, right, for the guys in the church, where even though they don't really change sets there necessarily, we do have this change in the colors and the flames. So they're now still in front of this green screen, I guess, and now instead of thunder and lightning, we see the flames. And it really works for, the title of the song too, In a Sea of Fire. And even in the church setting, And I hadn't even really noticed this yet, but they're still using some of those same purples that we saw before, sort of tying it together in the foreground. So in the background, we have the reds and oranges, but in the foreground, we're still using some of that pink, and that's really creating a really cool effect that's also really fitting with the color story of it all. Oh, and the reason why I hadn't noticed it before is because I accidentally skipped forward a little bit. So that's, I think I paused it around 2. So let's continue watching. Ooh, love that shot. Okay, so what's really cool is that, you know, literally for this guy, life is lost all color. So we're really seeing a lot, you know, everything is really desaturated, except again here it's really the reds and that really stand out in all of this bleakness. And I think that's really beautiful. And also the whites here really, really stand out too. So we see this this situation here where they're in the funeral now. Beautiful shot. I love that. Again, we're still sort of off kilter, so it's all just a little bit different from what you would expect. And what adds to that is that really, really wide angle lens that they've been using for a couple of these shots. But I feel like in this church especially, it works really well because it really amplifies the grandiosity, and there's enough to look at. And I love some of the textures here, like this wooden floor is really beautiful, and I love how this pale light really reflects off of that. So that gives it a lot of dynamics to this shot. I really wonder where they shot this and which church this was, because what church would let like this death metal band or a deathcore band really like play there? And also, you know, because it is stigmatized, right? Especially when it comes to religion, and then also to have these pyrotechnics going on. You see it here. I mean, that's really cool that they let them do that. So I love that. Again, I'm really loving this the color grading of specifically this section of this story, where it's just a beautiful sort of pale blues, and the whites are all sort of a little bit bluish, and the really red that they're using here, it's very consistent throughout, and it's just really stunning, the contrast with the two. So love that, and especially because we have some of the blue in the flowers here too. A lot of really big stuff, especially emotionally and like story-wise. I mean, it's moving quite slowly, right? I wonder if everything was shot in slow-mo, that's for sure, because it's got that smooth effect. But I wonder if it was truly enough footage to cover the, I mean, we have 5, 6, and 9 minutes, so that's like 20 minutes of runtime. If it was enough to really tell the story, it feels like there's more band than story in this one. Not that I mind, but it's just something I noticed. And I think the band's performance here is really cool. I just don't have as much to say about, I really do like the band's performance, and everything feels really big, and especially with the fire. And I'm now realizing how much of a foreshadowing all of these big flames are, because as he is going into this dark house, and you can just imagine what it must be like to lose your partner and or wife or husband, whatever, come to that empty house for the first time. It's so rough. Like, as I mentioned before, my father passed away when he was still relatively young, and his wife was a fair bit younger than him even. And, having seen her go through something like this was really tough, and like the loneliness that comes with that, and the emptiness, right? So they really managed to, and especially with the music and the type of music that it is, really is able to express some of the anguish really well. And at first I was thinking, why is he like coming home with like carrying like this little like office case or a suitcase or something? But then I realized that's not what it is. So he's working on, dousing the house in like gasoline or something, and he's gonna light it on fire. And so I'm quite curious to see what that's gonna look like. Yeah, this is a great shot. Could have been like straight out of a horror film. I really love how symmetric this shot specifically is. And like we have the light here, and we have a little bit of light hitting his collar here, which makes it really stand out. And it's just again, it's very blue toned. It's very, very nice, and just really drives home the absolute despair, I guess, that he's feeling. As well as this moment, just to go a little further back, that moment that he was wiping all of those pictures off and off the table and just like smashing some stuff. It's just very sorrowful, and a great punctuating ending to the sequence in this during this funeral and everything, and really leading naturally to the next part, which is going to be him lighting the house on fire. So let's keep watching. So it's really beautiful how he is now walking through this house, and like he's seeing these flashes of what now, are really clearly memories to happier times. And we land on this same shot, in this living room. I'm guessing that's where he's gonna light the match, because of the way that it's lit, it feels like it's gonna be a significant moment. It really drives it home, and also the progression in the music too. It's really beautiful and fitting of everything that's happening. Oh, so that was just so beautiful. I just wanted to pause it right before we go into the end there. So he does end up lighting the house on fire. It's such a big moment musically, but also in this moment itself. The lighting here is quite sparse actually. We have like a big light coming from here, which is shining on him, which is causing this really, really sharp shadow here, but it does mean that this here in the warmer light, it really stands out quite a bit. So that's really, really cool. And I love that we see this reflection of the lighter already in this picture. And we keep cutting back and forth between the sweet memories and just in general, I love it when they're playing with these types of reflections, and this was a really, really nice one too. Again, it's like contrasting him in the now and her in the past in the picture. It's really nice. A very nice touch. Oh, and I also wanted to say is that it looks pretty cool, I will say, is that I love the full moon, that they added here above the house, and it just all feels very big. And it's just such a sad ending too to him and the story. Hmm. Wow. Yeah. It's such a stunning video. I wonder if they got some footage of a burning building for the ending, or lit something on fire themselves to achieve that. That was it. That's the end. The Pain Remains trilogy. I really appreciate and admire their ambition with this and really trying to make it like a three-part little movie, if you will, and like cutting back and forth between the story and the band. I think that it gave the music and the whole story so much more weight to it. And yeah, I mean, it's such a touching story and video that you have to sit with it for a minute. And I think a lot of people can really relate to the story as well, like even if it hasn't happened to yourself, like me, maybe a family member. So it's a tough story, and yeah, good for them for wanting to do something like this that you wouldn't necessarily associate with the type of music as well. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown analysis of more the cinematic side of things of music videos and filmmaking and all that good stuff. I have a lot more videos on my channel, so give me a subscribe if you enjoyed this and if you want to see more similar breakdowns like this. You can find part 1 and part 2 on my channel as well if you haven't found that yet. And I also posted the whole thing as one big watch through on my Patreon. So you can find me there too. Anyway, I really appreciate you hanging out with me for this one, and I hope I'll see you on the next one. Peace.